Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this, 21st day, 4 days away from Christmas here, Thursday. Got a good game on tonight. Give you my quick take on that one after the break here. Going to talk about this Tommy DeVito, kind of a fun story out of New York. A pizzeria story. It sounds so much like somebody come up with this as some kind of comedy or whatever. But it's a pretty interesting story. Is he a capitalist, or he's just milking his 15 minutes of fame or whatever. And I'll go over that. It's a pretty interesting story there. Also, talk about storylines. A lot of them going in. I don't think a lot of people are looking into how tight this one seed is in the AFC. And believe it or not, you look at the strength of schedule, the Chiefs of all teams. Team that went on a 2-game losing streak, they got the easiest path there. We'll go over that. Also, talk about points against the spread and my favorite plays there of the week. But first, let's go ahead, take our first and only break, and I'll be back here in 49 seconds, and we'll hit the ground running here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then. Okay, now, tonight you've got the Saints at the Rams here. Now, if you say it out loud, Sean McVay and Matt Stafford versus Derek Carr and Dennis Allen, Rams should take care of business. That being said, I know Chris Olave, I don't want to say he's not going to play. Saints still got players on defense. The Rams still have a suspect secondary. This game could go either way. Don't think it will. I think that McVay will outcoach Allen, and there's a possibility Allen could be fired at the end of this year. I could see the owners, Mickey Loomis, the general manager, seem like the owners got a lot of faith in him, and I could see them moving on and maybe picking up a John Gruden, for example, but the fact that Dennis Allen brought him in to help out with this offense, I don't know if Gruden would take that per se. But all that being said, folks, they're just one game out. They're just one game out of Tampa here. They're still allowed mathematically to win that dreadful NFC South. And, of course, Rams at 7-7, very much in the wild card hunt there. Probably be somewhat of a high-scoring game. I'm thinking 29-23. I didn't bet it, wouldn't touch it. A lot of these Thursday games can go off the walls and haywire here. But it'll be a fun game. I'll peep it every now and then. But, so I like the Rams to win tonight. They stay in it, and more people will question Derek Carr and Dennis Allen. Now, if it goes the other way, we'll see what happens there. I know the Saints got the big win there over the Giants, and I'll talk about the Giants here in just a little bit, though. So, anyways, that's my quick take on tonight's game here. But, something interesting story. Now, tomorrow I'll have Carlos, Mad New Yorker Chavez in. We will break down and pick these games. There's particularly the one I'm about to talk about here in a minute is this Dolphins team and this Cowboy team. You know, if you look at it, both of these teams have their woes. The Dolphins, for example, the home team. And, you know, you read into these injury reports and everything, and I'm thinking to myself, well, geez, man, Tyreek Hill limited today, and you look at the running backs are all limited. The offensive line, yesterday is Thursday, right? In Rappaport said the whole offensive line did not practice for the Dolphins yesterday. But then today, you look at the Cowboys. Zach Martin hadn't practiced, and I think it was Tyron Smith. So you're talking left tackle and guard there, I want to say. And so both of these teams got their problems. But Fox Sports put this out. The Dolphins have 0 wins this season versus 500 teams. The Dolphins this season are 10 wins versus 500 or fewer, 0 wins versus teams over 500. And you know, I made the analogy. The Dolphins are like this Big 10 team or Big 12 team, excuse me, that beats up like they're like a powerhouse. Say, for example, like an Oklahoma or a Texas back in the day. Texas would beat up on an Oklahoma State or a down TCU team. Not last year, but just in the past. Oklahoma would beat up on a bad Kansas team. Remember, Kansas at one time, they were just getting destroyed in football. You know, 65-3, something like that. And then they got a good coach here recently, the last few years. And then they would run into a good SEC team like a Alabama, an LSU, who else? Georgia, somebody like that. And then they would get handled. A physical SEC team, they would get handled. So that is the Miami right now. Now remember, Miami lost to the Titans, the 5-9 Titans, a team that should be picking in the top 5. Now they're picking 9th because they won that game per se, But if you think about it, they had a shot to come back. They cut it to 7 against Kansas City, but they never did do it. They really have not, to be honest with you folks, Miami really has not lived up to their billing. I know they beat up on, again, another bad Kansas team, right? They beat up on the Jets here. Jets are wishy-washy up and down to beat them 30-0, And then you look at Dallas on the road. The Dallas, they did have a 3-point win over a somewhat, at the time in air quotes, over a somewhat competitive LA Charger team back when they had Justin Herbert. It was a Monday night game, very competitive. Joey Bosa, everybody back there playing. That type of team, yes, they end up winning that particular game. But really, Dallas, they struggled on the road. Do you want to call a close loss to the Philadelphia Eagles a win or a successful road game? I thought it got their confidence up that they would play well, perhaps beat the Eagles at the time. And, of course, we know what happened. They did beat the Eagles at the time here. So you got two things here. One team needs a win on the road. The other team needs to beat somebody above 500. And, of course, Dallas does have a good win against the Rams. Turned out to be a much better team. They're right there in the playoff hunt. And, of course, the Eagles as well here at home. But Dallas on the road, they kind of remind me, doing a college analogy here. I'm out of Nashville, followed the University of Tennessee. The college team would destroy teams at home last couple of years, or blow out teams sometimes at home. And then they go on the road and lose to a Missouri, Last year, they were the number 1 team in the country. Then they go on the road to I don't think Pittsburgh was ranked. University of Pittsburgh. Then they go into overtime, almost lose that game. They had their really, really good, as good as their defense has played for Dallas. They had the highest scoring points average offense in the league. So they're that much offensively driven. I remember back when that game happened, when they blew out the Rams at home. This was back in October before the trade deadline. And I'm looking at Aaron Donald doing gestures towards the Cowboys like, come get me. Come get me. I'm sure that didn't make the Rams coaching staff happy. Now the Rams have kind of turned it around here, and now they're in the playoff hunt. But he wanted them to trade, and looking at it now, look at how bad they got ran on against Buffalo. They probably should have made a move. I mean, geez, Jerry Jones is 81 years old. They want to win right now. Why didn't they go after Aaron Donald at the trade deadline, put him in that middle? Then you got a whole different level of a defense here. Now you're thinking potential Super Bowl if Dak plays his game and doesn't sink to the level that he can sometimes offensively and play at the level that he should. But that just didn't happen. They didn't go out there and Donald Carlos, and they have lost to teams and teams like the Arizona Cardinals. And listen, so they're still trying to get the NFC East title here. They want to get a home game because they're great at home. This is one to be the most anticipated games of the weekend, Dallas. And I want to say that Dallas is underdogs by 1.5 here. And I couldn't tell you. Now, of course, Carlos, we will talk about this game tomorrow. We'll have to pick somebody. But I couldn't tell you who I think is going to win this because I could see them both screwing it up, this particular game. But, Dallas is they're a team sometimes. They're hard to get a read on. And the same with Miami. I was for sure Miami would beat Buffalo early this year. As good as they look. Well, we know what happened. Buffalo got physical with them and slapped them around. Same thing with Miami and Kansas City. Ended up beating them. I thought they would blow Tennessee out. Tennessee got a little physical with them, and they coughed that game up too, like a cat coughing up a hairball, if you ask me. So I'll give you an answer to that, but I'm just trying to give everybody a storyline breakdown to that, because if you look at it, you look at who else that Dallas plays here down the stretch versus, they got to play Miami. They're another playoff team. Miami's practically in the playoffs. Then you look at the two giant games that the Eagles got to play in Arizona. Essentially they could run the table, the Eagles. That's why a lot of Eagle fans probably aren't. I know they've got internal problems, but look how bad that they beat up on the Giants. Now, maybe if you're a Giants fan, and I'll talk about the Tommy DeVito story here in a little bit. I may bring that up with you tomorrow, Carlos. The Eagles had to go across the country, okay, Monday night. Then they got to fly back to Philadelphia, knowing that flu-like symptoms there for Jalen Hurts. Then they got to go play on a short week there, got to go play this Giants team. Now, player for player, they could run roughshod on the Giants, beat them 38-7. But who knows the way they're playing. When you get a team that is on a losing streak like this, they look like they're second-guessing themselves. The way they blew that game, they got way overconfident at the end, even though that particular game going back to Monday night, that was a bad no call on pass interference for the Seattle defense. I mentioned this yesterday on the Seattle defensive back. Basically pushed Quez Watkins out, the receiver for the Eagles, out of the way. Then he gets the interception. That should have been pass interference, ball on the one, because that was in the end zone, right? Going the other way. Well, that's a freaking 7-point swing right there. The Eagles win, and they're cruising, but that did not get called. It was in Seattle. It was a bad no call, you know. And now this team's riding a 3-game losing streak, and they're second guess. That was a terrible throw. That was a terrible throw. The second interception by Jalen Hurts. That was an absolute terrible throw. They could have got a little closer and kicked a field goal. He was forcing it to A.J. Brown there, and they paid for it. But either way, this is a big game for Dallas, going back to Dallas here, playing the Dolphins here. And I couldn't tell you, but that's what they got to prove. Dallas says, we want to win a big game on the road, and Miami says, we want to beat somebody above 500. One of them is going to be right. The other one's going to be second-guessing himself because the Dolphins, they have now the Bills breathing down their shirt. Dolphins still have a shot at the 1 seed if you look at what Baltimore has to play. And Kansas City, Kansas City has the same kind of road here. As bad as Kansas City's been, you know, I'm talking about storylines coming in to this particular week. Okay. Again, so it's going to come down to who plays. If Zach Martin and Smith play for Dallas and Tyreek Hill's limping around there, maybe I do pick Dallas on the road, you know, because they have a tendency to bounce back after losses. But if Zach Martin don't play, which he hasn't practiced, you say that's just a guard inside. Well, I told you the last time they had multiple injuries on their offensive line, I said I wouldn't touch that game on a 10-foot pole, and that was the Arizona game where who was it? James Conner ran all over them with Josh Dobbs as their quarterback, you know, during his journey there. Okay. All righty then. Okay. So, all right. Again, with this AFC, excuse me. So getting back to what I was talking about here. All right. Now you have the AFC 1 seed. Now listen, folks, the 1 seed, with all these injuries here, Rick says if the Cowboys go out early in the playoffs, does the coach go? Well, I mean, what's your definition of early? You know, would they? I want to say they would play again at Tampa. Would you take Dallas, who went down and beat up on Tampa pretty good? Remember with Tom Brady last year with Todd Bowles? They would match up really good against Baker Mayfield and Tom Bowles. So that was their first. By the way, Rick, first road win in 30 years in the playoffs last year. And usually when you got a guy like Micah Parsons that spouts off the way he did after that loss, I've noticed that they do bounce back. I think that people don't want to say this publicly, but I've got the sense that he's the real leader on this team. You know, people can say what they want to about Dak. I like Dak. I like his improvement. I like his footwork improvement. I like but you know, I do think that they'll come back and play well this week. And if they do win, if they do go on the road or as a wild card, they're going to be the highest ranking wild card. So they'll play a Tampa or a Saints or Atlanta, and they should be 3.5 to 4.5 point favorites. Okay. Then you say, well, what if they win that game? Well, okay. Who else do they match up well with? I said this earlier. The fact that they beat Philadelphia in Philadelphia, they come down to one play at Philadelphia, and they beat them handily in Dallas. I think that they feel confident to win in Philadelphia. Only team I don't have no confidence in is the 49ers. I think they could go up there. I think they played Detroit, actually, in the regular season. But I think even in Detroit, I think they could go up and beat Detroit. Look how bad Detroit's secondary is. Look how good CeeDee Lamb has played. Okay. Brandon Cooks. Think about that matchup there. If you think about that matchup, I think Dallas could go up there and beat Detroit in Detroit. You know? it's all about really the 49ers. Now, we all know it's not a lock for the 49ers because the 49ers have injuries all the time, you know? So we don't know if the 49ers may lose a lot of guys Monday. They may lose a lot of guys Monday because they got to play the Ravens. And the Ravens put the hurt on people. The Ravens played a playoff game against Cincinnati, and they knocked 2 or 3 of their offensive linemen out. Cincinnati still recovers, goes up and beats Buffalo. But I think if those guys were playing, including the left tackle there, I think that they get back to the Super Bowl against Kansas City, you know? But I'm not sure if there's a possibility that Jerry would fire Mike McCarthy, but as good as they played this year, I don't think he will. Jerry's got more patience now than he's ever had. Look how long he kept the last coach. He's not really – he talks a big game, but they rarely move off coaches, you know, if you think about it. Pickles says he don't think McCarthy's going anywhere. I'm trying to think of the guy before McCarthy. I think that he held him for 2 or 3 years, probably longer than he probably should have, you know. And his name's slipping my mind because he's bounced around as a coordinator now. Okay. All right. Now, let's go back to this AFC. This is how important this is. We know that there's a monster game Monday night. Okay. Let's talk AFC 1 seed. All right. Now, the Ravens, obviously, they're sitting here on top here. Let me see if I got my actual standings here. I had my other stuff here. I want to make sure I had my actual standings here. That was the NFC. Okay. If the playoffs happen today, Ravens sitting there at 11-3. Now, they play Miami. I think it's next week, actually. I'm going to say they play Miami next week, which will favor Miami, folks, because the Ravens got to play the 49ers on Monday night. But they're sitting there at that 1 seed at 11-3. Miami is at 10-4. Kansas City at 9-5. All right, keep that in mind, folks. The Ravens, they got to play at San Francisco on Christmas night, a night game, great game. Wish it wasn't on Christmas night, but I'm gonna watch a lot of it. I'll record it and finish it. I got to go to work the next day. Then on New Year's Eve, 6 days later, they fly back. They fly back home to Baltimore and play Miami at home. Then they play, by the way, Kenny Pickett, limited, not going to play this week. Not going to play this week. Mason Rudolph's going to play. But Pickett will be playing. All right. Eventually, he's going to be back. And the Ravens got to play Pittsburgh, even if they get knocked out. And I'm not sure Pittsburgh wins this week against Cincinnati, right? I'm not sure Pittsburgh wins against Cincinnati. But you all know that with Kenny Pickett there, Pittsburgh has traditionally matched up better with the Ravens than any team in the NFL. We're talking going back 20 years with John Harbaugh. You know, and I respect the heck out of the Ravens. But they would love to knock the Ravens out of the 1 seed. They are not going to give up an inch. Plus, Mike Tomlin, you know, the criticisms for him is just keep on mounting, you know. It really does keep on mounting. So, Jason Garrett, thank you, Chad. Yeah, Garrett, I totally forgot about him. I mean, that tells you how much that of a star he wasn't, right? So, going back here. All right, now, I just talked about the Ravens. This is not a walk in the park. 49er team, number 1 seed in the NFC right now. They play them Monday. On a short week, they got to play Miami. They're the number 2 seed in the AFC, right? They got to play them on a short week. Then they got to play borderline playoff team Pittsburgh to end the season. Even if Pittsburgh's already out of it, like I said, they'd love to knock it. So that is not a walk in the park. They would much rather be playing Arizona and the LA Chargers or somebody or another NFC team. So that's the Ravens schedule. Now, go back to Miami. Now, Miami, Sunday, Christmas Eve, this Sunday, they got Dallas at home. They have not beat a team above 500. It's all about who's going to play. Can Tyreek Hill play? Can that offensive line play led by Tyron Armstead? I think they could beat Dallas, but if Dallas has their line together, and it's just measuring up the two injury reports, because Dallas will have fans down there. I was listening to somebody on Fox said Dallas has fans down there when they go down there. They're going to have some fans down there in Miami. Go figure. But here's Miami's schedule. So, again, they play Miami at home. They go on New Year's Eve. They got to go play at Baltimore. God knows what kind of weather's going to be up there New Year's Eve at Baltimore. Then they got to go home and play Buffalo, this hungry, surging Buffalo team who's already beat them this year. Smashed them around. So, and Buffalo's schedules are much lighter. There's a very good chance Buffalo can win out and Miami can lose 2 of these 3 and be out of this thing. They'll be back down to a wild card team and look like a team that is more of a finesse, paper champion type of team. Okay. So that's Miami's last 3. Again, Miami, I'm talking about 1 seed potential. You get that bye week, you get that home game. People say, well, you lose your momentum and all. Listen, folks, look at it this way. You're winning a game by not playing a game, and you're not getting anybody hurt. That's my philosophy on the 1 seed in the bye week. You're winning a game without, Kansas City. Everybody's, well, I don't know, man. I don't know. They might lose momentum. Well, they got the Super Bowl last year. They're the 1 seed. Patrick Mahomes has never played a road playoff game. And believe it or not, he might not have to play one this year. It's down as they've been. He accepted that $50,000 fine for criticizing the refs the other day. Or was it 100? I can't remember. It was a lot of money. But he's like, yeah, my bad, in his Kermit the Frog voice. I still love the guy. Okay, Kansas City. Now, Kansas City, 9-5, right? Well, look who they play, folks. The Raiders, who they own at home, on Christmas night. Christmas, they're going to play them at noon Central. I'll still watch a game, right? So they got the Raiders. They've got Cincinnati at home with Jake Browning. Now, Browning's a lot better player than we thought he was going to be. And it is a short week. And I know, Jamar Chase is out this week, but maybe he's back next week against Kansas City. And then they play at the Chargers, who's practically got everybody out. No Justin Herbert. So they could essentially run the table here and be back at the 1 seed. That they could run the table here and be back at the 1 seed. But listen, let me be generous to the Ravens. Say the Ravens lose to if the Ravens lose to San Francisco, okay, let's say that, for example, if they lose to Frisco, all right, they and run the table. I mean, just they got a much better team. Maybe they go ahead and beat the Steelers, and go ahead and beat Miami, because that is in Baltimore. They did come back on Baltimore last year. But remember, last year, that was in September. You don't know how cold it's going to be. And you're talking about a Raven team that's got much better receiving core here. But my thing is, if Ravens have their injuries too, Keaton Mitchell is out for the season. Okay. So you got Keaton Mitchell out for the season. Another running back goes down for the Ravens. They're getting guys like Melvin Gordon off their practice squad and everything. So Ravens will probably be favored in that game, even though it's a short week. So it's not a lock there. It's the most wide open I've ever seen it because of the way these schedules set up, particularly in the AFC. Now, as far as the NFC is concerned, it's just simple. If the 49ers, now this is a big if because again, they play the Ravens this week, this coming up Monday night. If they stay healthy, yeah, I could just see them winning it, getting that 1 seed and really be in the driver's seat to get back to the Super Bowl, which they were my prediction anyways. But just for the sake of talking about this thing, what if they lose to the Ravens? Okay, what if they lose to the Ravens? All right, Detroit, they got to play Minnesota this week. I think they'll beat Minnesota. They beat them last year in Minnesota. You know, Dallas does what they do on the road, and they lose on the road. Okay, what if Detroit gets the 1 seed? Mathematically, they're in it. You know, Philadelphia's got the easiest road, Arizona, and 2 Giants games. Yeah, I hate that when they do that, by the way. NFL, what are you thinking, man? You know, why do you want to have 2 division opponents play within 3 weeks? I've never liked that. You know, do better, NFL. And Pickle says they won't roll over for the Chiefs. And for some reason, the Chiefs don't play that well at home as they do on the road against the Raiders. I have no idea why that's the case. Rick says, what's wrong with Derrick Henry? Can I trust him in the fantasy playoffs? No, because who they play this week? Seattle. It's not really him. It's the fact that they don't have any blocking up front, and they throw the ball to Spears more in the flat, and he's a little quicker. You know, I don't know if I could or not because there's so many injuries on Tennessee's offensive line. I think he had like 9 rushes for 14 yards. I mean, that's just – and he was getting pounded about that by the media this week. Not him. I think it was him, but also I think it was the offensive coordinator. I think it was Tim Kelly's the guy's name. And he gives us some whoop-de-doop. Well, we're just trying to establish physicality and just some yada-yada type of answer here. I would look at, Rick, I would look at the waiver wire and what I can do here. Now, that being said, they're playing Seattle. Ryan Tannehill's probably going to be playing Seattle. Monday night game, early start time. I would possibly think about playing him because I could see him getting a goal line touchdown because maybe Seattle is a little bit dead-legged. Big emotional game against Philadelphia. So possibly he can get a touchdown this week and a few catches in the flat here. But I could see something good happen to him. If you don't have any other options on your bench, I would probably play him this particular week. I don't know about the rest of the playoffs. You just have to ask me, and I'll give you that answer on a case-by-case basis. I would never play him against a team like a Baltimore with their run defense. So, again, AFC wide open. We're going to find out a lot about Miami, and we're going to find a lot about Dallas here coming up this weekend. And also, listen, Baltimore's playing San Francisco. What is San Francisco? They're another NFC team, right? What is he, 19-1, something like that? Lamar Jackson, he was almost got that second loss against the Rams. He got a little pass happy. But I will say this, and I'll actually give you my prediction and score on that game tomorrow with Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez. But I will say this. These 2 teams played. Practically both coaches, different quarterback for the 49ers, but they played Lamar Jackson in 2019, the year the 49ers got to the Super Bowl, if you recall. And that was in Baltimore, and it was a 3-point game. Nick Bosa was on that team. I think Fred Warner was still there. Basically, it's the same group of guys is what I'm saying. That was in Baltimore. I want to say 3-point game, airtight, because they got so much speed. That 49ers defense got so much speed. They're one of the few outlier NFC teams defensively that can hang with Lamar Jackson. So that's going to be a fun game to watch. Now, hey, listen, Lamar's got a lot more targets now. If he wins this game, his stock for MVP is going to go way up. Okay? And then maybe if Christian McCaffrey, this is saying a lot, if he has a big game, maybe his stock for MVP may go up there as far. Because, hey, you're judged on these big games right here, you know? All righty then. You know something? Let me go with this slight story, and then I'll do my points against the spread to end the show here. All right. Now, Tommy DeVito. I don't know why I laugh every time. Every time I hear this guy's name, this Tommy DeVito, every time I hear his name, it just makes me laugh. You know, I've had some problems with my emails. But even if I don't get it on email, I can still tell you what the story was. All right. So essentially, Tommy DeVito he's this undrafted free agent here. He went to Syracuse. He's from the New Jersey area. We a lot of you know the story, but I'm just recapping it for you. Third string quarterback here. Due to injuries, he's came in and he's played some games. 3-2 as a starter. We're all aware he had that big Monday night win, team off a bye week, beat that Packer team. That was a big win. He's walking to the pregame here, walking into the tunnel. He's got this red shirt on, Rick, looking like Vinny Barbarino, the John Travolta character from Welcome Back, Carter. I was trying to think of that. I was like, man, I know it was a little before my time, but I knew that. And I'm thinking, you could throw a little bit. You could throw in a little Saturday Night Fever there. Kind of a throwback guy. It almost seems like it's made up. Like this is so scripted with Tommy DeVito here. And of course, ESPN. They play it up. They're showing the guy's mother and father. They look like your stereotypical New Jersey family there. You know, it's showing that. And I'm watching MGM Bet, their Twitter site there, the X site, and they get the big win. And there are big Soprano fans. They're saying Tommy DeVito after this morning, after last night's game, and there's a scene where Pickles, Tony Soprano's walking out of the Bada Bing at about 8:00 in the morning after being all night at the party at that Soprano's famous strip club, the Bada Bing there. And he's looking, it's one of my favorite scenes there in Sopranos here. So there in the caption was, this is Tommy DeVito this morning. Okay. So that's that. Okay. Now, and I can't get this email to come up, but I can paraphrase this thing because I've read the story a couple of times. So I don't know why this makes me laugh. A local pizzeria, Tommy DeVito, he agreed to go sign some autographs and hang out at this small business pizzeria in the New Jersey area. Okay. For $10,000. Okay. And then after they beat Green Bay on Monday night, his marketing agent, not his contract agent, one of his people from his marketing team, tells this small business owner it's $20,000 now for Tommy to go. So that gets out to the press, and he looks like a piece of crap, you know. And of course, DeVito denies it. He fires this guy. He gets a new marketing director. I mean, the guy's played 5 games, you know. He's doing all this in the middle of the season. And so he agreed to just show up at the pizza parlor, this undrafted free agent guy. And so they went on, and he does the event. you know. And my thing is, when I put this in the title, is this Jeremy Lin? Remember, Jeremy Lin was great for about 2 weeks in February of 2012. You know, I was playing fantasy basketball that year, real big into it. I was in a league, and this guy was killing it, man. You know, it was this cool little Asian kid. The Knicks are going on a little bit of run. It's just before the All-Star break. It's in the middle of February. The Super Bowl's over with. And this guy, you know, he went to Harvard. He's got a great story. And Carmelo Anthony supposedly feeling publicly, we're hearing they love each other, and the team's he's going to be the guy that's going to get them through. And then privately, I'm hearing and reading that he felt threatened by Jeremy Lin. And this guy gets a new contract and everything. And then he kind of becomes an average player again, and he kind of fades out. You know, everything's bigger in New York, right? So this is what this guy feels like. This guy's been, he's 3-2. And of course, we all know what happened last Sunday. They got destroyed by the Saints here, you know. And for somebody who's trying to make this team that statistically, I don't want to say they're not out of it. And he's trying to keep his name up. Do you do something like that in the middle of the season? Okay. Does it look like you're just a guy who's trying to milk this thing, get your 15 minutes and get out of here and make a quick $8,000 or $10,000? Feels very cheap, hustler type of thing. Very used car salesman, sleazy type. Or me being a guy that's born from the wrong side of the tracks, who realizes that you grab opportunity and you manage your time right, and you go on and do it. Go ahead and get that money real quick, because it's not going to be here tomorrow. So I'm kind of torn on that particular situation. Okay, whether do I want to throw this guy under the bus here for trying to make a few extra dollars? All right. So I'm a little bit torn here. My only criticism is it's hard to hide this stuff in New York, even though technically it's in New Jersey, because there's so much media. There's a lot of people there. You got the 7 billion in New York. It's a major market. And I remember Danny Kanell. He was a backup for the Giants back in the late 90s. And he was saying he was getting opportunities as a backup like this, making $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to show up at events. He said just because of that former Florida State star and former Giant backup, Danny Kanell said this years ago, and I guess my thing is I would probably lean towards doing something like this in the off season. Okay. But I guess if he wants to, if he's a good time manager, and I saw a picture of him on ESPN.com with his new marketing manager, and the guy's got sunglasses on, and this looks like something out of a comedy, Pickles, it looks like something out of Ferris Bueller's Day Off with his best friend. These two young guys trying to make some money. You can't make this stuff up. This sounds like a script. If somebody was smart, and they got a lot of smart people up there in New York, somebody would probably jump on this. But here's my thing. If you wanted to do it during the regular season, and that media is going to say, okay, well, you got destroyed by the Saints last week. You got to play the Eagles this week. It's in Philadelphia. Okay. I would let it leak out, or let the coaches know that my tablet, I got my hours in studying the tablet. This is a big thing with Johnny Manziel. One of the reasons Manziel got cut from the Browns, this was in the documentary, that he wasn't logging into his tablet. Teams monitor how long you're on there studying the game film. Okay. So if I'm getting my proper amount of time in here, if I'm getting more than the minimum, not the minimum, more than the minimum, okay, then you want to do it. Carlos calls it just a pizza shop. It's the idea of doing that. But if you're monitoring, if what I'm saying is, I'm done with practice. See, Carlos he's like, this is the marketing agent. And Carlos probably tried to reach this guy. Keep that in mind. I'm going to bring this up tomorrow, Carlos. I want to see, you seem like that guy that would do it. This guy charging prices like it's, he looked like he was going to Studio 50. Carlos says, this guy charging prices like he's at Studio 54. He looked like, with that red velvet sweater or whatever that was that a blouse? I mean, the whole thing is just a riot, you know. And I guess it keeps the 5-9 Giants, and I'm out of Nashville, and the Titans people want them to beat the Eagles, you know. So the Titans had jumped them in the draft, you know. So, but again, if you're managing your time right, I would let it get out. I finished practice, did everything that Brian DeBall asked me to do. I got my hours. My hours are leaked out of what I'm studying on my tablet. And if I got 3 hours to sign 250 autographs at a pizzeria in Hoboken, New Jersey, for $11,000. Now he's living with his mom. I'm not living with mom. You know, it's. If I'm making that kind of money, even at 22, 23, well, what about your mom's cooking? Well, you can drive over there. Go get you a condo, man. You're still doing all right, even with New Jersey taxes. This is a terrible look for NFL suites. It does look a little bit of cheap. You know, it looks cheap. It looks cheesy. But the truth of the matter is, hey, man, this guy may be in the USFL next year. You know, I don't think you would see an Andrew Luck doing this, but, you know, Luck and Eli, they're making big money. You got to look at it from his perspective, you know. But then again, I don't think Brady would have done that when he was trying to knock off Drew Bledsoe to become a start quarterback. He was a 6th-round pick. He's pretty close. He's pretty close to Tommy DeVito. They killed Tommy. I can't believe, what is that, Pickles? Goodfellas? I can't believe it. They killed Tommy, man. I don't know, man. Tommy looks pretty good. And he'll be even that much more loved if they beat the Eagles here. This guy, his agent has a website. Oh, and let me throw, and Carlos, you made a good point. And let me throw this in. This also is a little bit corny. This is very much like the situation from oh God, what was that? New Jersey Shore. This is very real. New Jersey Shore takes on the Giants football. Okay, let me okay, here we go. This is from the NFL reporter is putting this out here. The Giants quarterback Tommy DeVito has filed trademarks. This guy, Jeremy Lin over here, Tommy Cutlets and Passing Pacino, Paisano, Pickles. He's filed trade. Did you win the Super Bowl? Who do you think you are, Joe Namath? And I hope Mac's not. Then again, Mac may agree with me. You know, John McGrath, he may agree with me. Okay, so again, the New York Giants quarterback Tommy DeVito has filed new trademarks for Tommy Cutlets Pickles and Passing Pacino. The fillings claimed that DeVito plans to sell branded Carlos decals, clothing, pasta, pizza. He's eating up every stereotype, right? Tomato sauce and energy drinks. Pickle says, "Bites on." Oh, hey, oh. Now I've got this. I'm gonna have to go back and analyze this with Billy Crystal and Robert De Niro. That scene where Billy Crystal's trying to act like he's having the big meeting, in air quotes, and he's gonna meet up with the he's gonna meet up with all the other mob people, and he's kissing this big fat guy, and hugging. It's so funny, man. Pickles says cutlets. Yeah, I gotta get your Carlos. I gotta get your opinion on. It sounds like something Carlos would come up with. Get your figure Tommy DeVito pasta. Hey, what'd you do? I was the Giants quarterback for a couple of weeks, man. I was Jeremy Lin of the NFL. Hey, if it gets you another contract, hey, listen, it's a capitalistic. Again, I grew up on the wrong side of the tracks, dirt poor. I had to fight for everything. I could see myself getting caught up into some nonsense like this now that I'm older and know how to time manage. When I was very young, maybe 22, 23, my time management skills were awful. I don't know if I could pull it off because I'm still trying to learn that playbook and get better as a football player rather than being a air quote celebrity. Now, I don't think Bill Parcells would like this. Bill Parcells says, I do not want a former Giants coach, a celebrity quarterback, Rick. He doesn't have a snowball. Yeah, if he beats the Eagles, they're going to treat this guy like he's Joe Namath. I think they're like 12-point underdogs. Which let me get to my picks against the spread real quick. I just had to have some fun with that. It is hilarious. That's why I wore my blue tie, guys. I wore my Giants tie in honor of Tommy DeVito. If he played for the Bucks and did this, it wouldn't be talking about it. But he's in that New York market, see, and he is. So, okay, only got 3 games this week. Now, listen, the Colts plus 2.5 at 8-6. They're at Atlanta. Atlanta's the underdog. Was surprised to see the Colts were actual underdogs, even though they're on the road. Note the Colts beat Pittsburgh. They beat Baltimore earlier this season. They're going to have Jonathan Taylor back, and Michael Pittman was a full practice participant. This will be a tight game, but I'd like the Colts. If you want to be, because they're on the road, Atlanta can be a little shaky at home here. Take the Colts plus 2.5. I like that. You could take them on the money line, but take the Colts plus 2.5. That's one of my favorite plays of the week here. Gardner Minshew. Now, I know Arthur Smith, he's on the hot seat. Arthur Blank, the other Arthur, is like, we're going to have to evaluate and see how the season ends. That's code for this guy needs to win some more games for me to keep him. Okay, New England at Denver. Now, I told you folks that there's certain games that I do like, but I don't like the actual spread. Now, on FanDuel, and I'm sure you can do this on other apps too, but you can alternate the spread. You're not going to get as good enough odds here, okay? So Denver's getting 6.5. New England can't score on anybody. They're sitting at this number 2 pick. Belichick's probably gone. Maybe he's in the LA Chargers. Who in the bleep knows? Okay, Denver 7-7, got a clean shot to be 10-7 as well, and possibly get one of those wild card spots here. Okay, I think minus 6.5 is a little high. I made a note, alternate that to Denver minus 3.5. Okay, that still gives you minus 205 there, and I think it's probably 24-18. Denver wins and covers the score, but it could be a lot closer than that. I still like Denver to win, but I'd alternate that to minus 3.5 to minus 205 to win, in my opinion. Okay, now Cincinnati at Houston. Joe Flacco very likely going to be playing Casey Keenum. CJ Stroud for Houston has not got out of concussion protocol. We don't know if their number 1 draft pick, Will Anderson, defensive end, will play. But I'm a little worried about Joe Flacco because they're starting to get more film on him in Kevin Stefanski's system. So this is another one here. I would alternate it to plus 3.5 for the Browns to be on the safe side. And that one's also minus 250. So I do like that type of spread. I wouldn't trust Houston against that Cleveland defense. I do think this is a 4-point game either way. But to be on the safe side, better team is Cleveland right now. The healthier team seems to be Cleveland right now. I think this is 22-19, Cleveland minus 2.5, but I wouldn't take that chance. Do the plus 3.5 for the Browns, and you come out that way at minus 250. Those are 3 that I really like this week. Pickles says, Tommy Cutlets beats the Eagles. They have a parade downtown. That would probably be the headline on the New York Post, Pickles. That would probably be the headline on the New York Post. And then Pickles quotes the casino, why take a chance from Remo? That's Nikki. 20-0 Rams over the Saints. Rick says, yeah, I did think that the Rams will win and cover. It's a coaching mismatch. I wouldn't be surprised, Rick, if Dennis Allen's not the coach. Maybe they fired Dennis Allen this week, man. That's about what I thought. I didn't know if it'd be a blowout like that, but I thought the Rams would win. We talked about it at the beginning of the program. Carlos says, Broadway music playing. Tommy, can you eat this? With the big cutlet sandwich picture in the background. Yeah. I mean, that would be. They'll be talking about this guy like he's Joe Namath if he goes down there. And they got a chance to beat Philadelphia, but the last 2 times they played Philadelphia's beat the crap out of them. But I've seen teams that are on losing streaks, they start to second-guess themselves a lot. The Eagles. Remember, the Eagles went all the way to Seattle, and then they flow back on a short week here against the Giants. If the Giants get a fast start in that game, I think the Giants could keep it interesting. But I wouldn't bet on it because you just don't know what you're going to get. You don't know what you're going to get. It's 10-0 early in the second. Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you said it was 20-0. But either way, if you guys like the show, share the show. I'll be back on here tomorrow. We will pick the biggest games. I know that Detroit and Minnesota is a big game. I know that Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. I'm still analyzing. That one's a big game. Haven't made my mind up on Dallas and Miami. Is Zach Martin going to play? Who was the other guy? I can't remember the other guy. They got one other lineman out. Plus, they got a defensive tackle for Dallas that may be out as well. That's why they got ran on last week. I mean, if you think about it, if Miami plays their cards right, and it stays with the running game, they should be able to win at home. But they ain't beat nobody with over a 500 record. So that's what makes that game fascinating. We'll be breaking down them games tomorrow. If you guys like the show, please share the show. I'll be back on tomorrow, same time, same place, here on Sports Scope.